Hey, welcome, John. How you doing?
Hey, Randy, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Excellent, thank you. Crazy game last night, huh?
Watching
Yeah.
Brady is just, it's painful, but it's beautiful because I wish he was back on the Patriots. I do, because watching what is happening to the Patriots now is painful. But man, watching him do the 2-minute drill is just a thing of beauty. It's just absolutely insane.
Because I was going to go to sleep. I'm like, watch, this guy's going to.
Can't count him out, man. Can't count him out. I think the Atlanta game was the one where everybody, even haters, were like, okay, I don't know what to say at this point. 28-3 at halftime, going into the third quarter, and he comes back on that. Like you can't deny it at this point. Yeah. Anybody who's sitting there trying to say that he's not the greatest of all time, I'm not even willing to have the conversation with him. So
yeah, amazing. But fortunately, we got the Celtics and Bruins doing well, so
killing it. Yeah, Tatum's good. They're talking about Tatum being the top in the league right now, like awesome. Best player in the league. Takes over Kevin KD.
Garnett.
Yeah,
cool. All right. So anyway, everybody, thanks for joining. We are very excited to have the legendary John Barrows on. He's does a lot of things, but if there's one we have to pick, CEO of Sell Better by JB Sales. Our title topic is the future sales rep is going back to the past, but with better tools. We're brought to you by, as always, Sales Community. For those that are members, great. For those of you that are not, you can go to salescommunity.com and look in the upper left-hand corner. And we've got a free link there where you can get a free membership. Lots of great content to learn more and sell more. And John is on our advisory board like all the podcast folks. So thanks for that, John.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And our sponsor today is Convertive. They're a great consulting firm that helps sales and marketing teams exceed goals by optimizing their technology and data stack. They're the only company I know of that makes sure that you get the right data from all your different software tools. I always say it's interesting within the tech world, you got all these different kind of VARs, consultants, solution providers, but within the sales tech stack world, you just kind of have all the different companies that look after themselves and really don't have anybody that's kind of boutique and niche-y that can kind of, I guess the old days we'd say kind of GUI interface, but we kind of make sure that right hand and left hand works together. So definitely check out Convertive. And a little bit about John. So he lives in Woburn, Mass. Interests besides work are travel, his family, 12-year-old daughter. And you did a cool book on sales for kids too, right?
Yeah, that was a fun little project called I Want to Be in Sales When I Grow Up. It was a nice book that I did with my daughter to kind of connect with her when she was 5-6 years old and help her understand a little bit what Daddy did, and also try to put together something that elevated the profession at a different level. Because no kid ever says, I want to be in sales when I grow up. And I think we need to change that.
Awesome. So Tucker, maybe we can post that. Sorry for putting you on the spot, Tucker. So it's, what's it again?
So it's I want to be in sales when I grow up. So if that's the actual website too, or you could be like J Barrows /book, and it'll take you to the website. That'll show you the background and little videos of her practicing her pitch and stuff like that. So it's fun.
So awesome. That's great. And then we only were trying to figure out, I think we only met just at Dreamforce. Ashley says I need to grab that book.
Yeah. DM me, by the way, John M. Barrows. DM me, and I'll have my daughter autograph it for anybody out there if anybody wants.
Oh, awesome. All right, Tucker, hopefully you're catching up with all that. So anyway, we just met, 2-3 months ago at Dreamforce. I was definitely immediately impressed with him in all ways. Don't know how I missed him, but I think we've got very similar beliefs, for better or for worse. Yeah. But definitely great knowledge, has a huge following. Does so much to help sales professionals improve, so they sell more. I love going through all the different podcasts, and it's probably the epitome of, I might be old school, but and just all kinds of sales basics that somehow today is kind of new age, and it's, kind of all the stuff that all the top performers have been doing forever. So, And again, just a real nice, authentic person. And I got a couple other intro comments. So from Max and Scott, who used to be at Outreach, now GTM Fund, where you're an LP in there, I think, too, right? Yeah, so we're both LPs. So I don't know what the advertising rules are, but awesome. It's probably one of the few venture capital funds that goes after earlier stage companies, kind of go-to-market centric. A whole bunch of great LPs as well that participate. So feel free to check them out. So anyway, from Max and Scott, they say John's a really good guy who's been in the SaaS sales training space forever and trained some of the fastest growing SaaS companies on the planet, including Salesforce. I don't think I know a person who has a negative thing to say about John. Super high integrity guy and one of the hardest workers out there. And of course, we're fortunate to have him as an LP in the fund. So that was nice. And then from your own Chris Merrill says,
oh boy.
No, it was all good. I'll get. I got to take the high points here. Be good here, but basically, in a great side is 40 years. You've not missed an opportunity to send a card or gift every holiday, birthday, or life event. He's without peer the most thoughtful and giving person I know, which he needs to offset his trucker mouth. So hopefully, we can experience some of the trucker mouth later on. Favorite beer is Coors Light, and favorite show is Miami CSI.
No, those are literally my three least favorite things are Coors Light.
Okay. So I got set up there.
Yeah, David Caruso, Coors Light, and mosquitoes are my three least favorite things. And so, yeah.
All right. Okay.
I've known Chris since I was 5 years old. He's my chief growth officer, and he knows where all the bodies are buried. So
there you go. All right. Sounds good. Anyway, so if we jump in here, so if we talk more, obviously impressive professional background. So if you can give us kind of a quick run, and I think your first job was at Black & Decker in 1998, and then Xerox.
Yeah, I got the Xerox indoctrinated. I mean, I kind of fell into sales just like everybody else. You know, I grew up here in Boston, went down to Maryland, drank my way through 4 years of college. Got my degree in marketing because I didn't know what I wanted to be. Fell into sales with DeWalt. So Black & Decker recruits heavily out of Maryland. Yep. And so DeWalt was their first thing. And I drove around giving away free tools to construction workers, which was cool. Then I went to Xerox. That's where I got my actual formal sales education with the Xerox Academy and everything else. Sold to state and local governments too. So you talk about selling a commodity, right? Then started a company doing IT services with Chris. Actually, Chris is the one who started it. I jumped on board to run sales and marketing. I was 23, didn't know what I wanted to, didn't know anything. So took every training, Sandler, Miller, Hyman, Taz, Spin, you name it. Came across Basho, which was a really cool company here in Boston. That was a training by Jeff Hoffman, and loved it because it was super tactical. Used it to help grow Thrive Up. We ended up being the fastest growing company in Massachusetts for a few years in a row. Sold off to Staples. Staples came and bought us, and then they fired me because I'm not a corporate guy and my trucker mouth kind of got in the way. And then went and joined Basho, not because I wanted to be a trainer. I actually don't like most trainers. Most trainers are either failed sales professionals or professional presenters. But Basho had an interesting model where you had to be a sales rep first to sell so you could train. So practice what you preach. Joined them. They screwed it up. I took it over. So back in 2008, new CEO came in, tanked the company, fired us all, went all in on software. I scooped it up, ran professional services, and been off my own now for about 5 or 6 years with some cool ass company. No, actually about 9 years now. And I'm working with like Salesforce, LinkedIn, Box, Dropbox, Okta, Google, Amazon, training most of their sales teams on, with a highlight on prospecting. But we also do negotiations, objection handling, closing, all that fun stuff. So having a good time doing it.
Awesome. And Ashby chimes in. That was my first job too, but with a better brand, Milwaukee.
Please. Yeah, maybe your skill saws are all right, but your cordless shit sucks. So
there you go. I don't know if they had cordless back then, but anyway. They did. That
was when they first came out with it. So I was that was like right in 98, 99 is when they started with the 12 volt, 18 volt batteries, and that just took everybody by storm. So.
Awesome. So most of the time I have CROs here talking about go-to-market and sales, which obviously you know a lot about, but just would be curious with your Sales Better by JB Sales, kind of, how do you guys sell?
Well, using our stuff. I mean, I do not allow my team to sell without using. I can't stand trainers that don't use their own stuff when they're selling. I mean, it's weird to even experience that. So yeah, we use our own techniques. We do everything. I mean, obviously in other people's stuff too. I mean, there's no one right answer in sales anymore. So we try to keep up to date with all the tools and technologies and different things out there. But to your point, when you kick this thing off, a lot about sales is the fundamentals and doing them right, but also doing them consistently right. Anybody can have a good quarter, anybody can have a good month, but can you have a good year? Can you have a good career? And the fundamentals are the ones that will get you there for that. So we try to focus on the fundamentals and always keep testing new things, trying out new approaches, all that stuff.
Oh, awesome. And then are you mostly selling into tech or what industries?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, when I started this and went off on my own, the Bash Show clients, we kind of divvied up and Salesforce was on there. This was back in 2008 before it was like really Salesforce. And I just knew kind of least path of resistance. Also, I never started this company because I wanted to build a company. I started this company because I didn't want a boss, period. And so, when I looked at Salesforce, I said, well, if I get them as I for some reason back then I had just a gut feel that they were the rocket ship compared to all the others. Yeah. And I said, you know what, let me focus on them. Let me basically bend over backwards to do whatever they are asking me to do within reason. And get them as my marquee client. Because I felt like if I could get them as my marquee client, then pretty much every other SaaS business would be like shooting fish in the barrel. And that's pretty much what happened. So yes, we have a high concentration in SaaS and kind of that predictable revenue model type of sales org. But that doesn't mean this is SaaS training. It's just the places we play.
Yeah. And then what kind of levels do you usually sell into, kind of who recommends, who's the decision maker, all that?
Yeah, I mean, it's different, right? Because it depends on what you sell and who you sell to. But for us, we used to be pure top-down players, like go straight to the C-suite, and whether it's an old school veto letter, right, back in the day, or these days, an email that goes right up top and aligns with some corporate initiatives and that type of stuff. About 5 or 6 years ago, I started seeing some tech that was the C-suite was starting to get littered with templated emails that kind of followed a similar format and all this other stuff. And so that pure generic top-down approach is actually a little bit lazy these days. So if I go to the CEO and I say, hey, I was doing some research and I saw this stuff and this is what we do. And I was wondering who's the best person to speak with about this. It's like, dipshit, can't you use LinkedIn? Right. This, it should be pretty evident these days who the best person is to have that conversation with. So there's a little bit of that, but then there's the bottom up approach, which I think a lot of people look at from like a PLG standpoint, like a product led growth approach, where it's you get it into users and then you go up. But the bottom up approach also from gathering insights at the bottom layer and almost looking at it as design thinking for sales. So design thinking is usually product, right? Where it's like Apple, they don't just come up with a product and say, we're smarter than you, use it. Apple watches the way we work and how we do things. So when they come up with stuff, that's why like the iPad was so intuitive, right? It's like, it just works. It makes sense because it's design thinking. Well, we can do the same thing in sales. So for instance, like if you want to sell to Walmart, for instance, go to Walmart, sign up, like walk the floor, sign up for their newsletter, do a self-checkout, return something, like experience what it's like to be a customer, and then look for the gaps and then create your hypothesis on going up to the C-suite now with some real intel. And I think we can do that with the AE BDR model that we're in. BDRs, SDRs not only should be able to get meetings, but they should be able to gather insights from the inside of that organization that they can then give to the AE to create a hypothesis, a business use case to go after the executive. So I think it's not one or the other, it's both, and they're not mutually exclusive. And when done right, you should be able to kind of navigate as long as you're speaking the right language to the right level.
That's awesome. So from internally for you, do you have any openings you're hiring for?
We don't have any direct openings, but we're always hiring. So I'm always looking for talent. I don't believe in like a hire. Okay, we're going to hire now. I always look for good talent. And if I come across good talent, we always bring it on board. But we hire very specifically on values first. We don't look for skills first. We look for values. And the values for us are family. Let me make sure you have family, give a shit, care, make it happen, authenticity, and continuous improvement. And if you got those values and you're on board with our why of elevating the people in professional sales and you're good, then we'll find a spot for you.
That's awesome. So moving on, our title topic is the future sales rep is going back to the past, but with better tools. Mm-hmm. Tell us more about that, John.
Yeah, I'm a big believer right now. We're in a transition phase. I think we're teaching the robots how to do our job. It's like back in the old manufacturing days with a person, you got that guy sitting on the manufacturing line stamping out widgets, and he's like, I'm the best widget guy ever, right? And you're like, yeah, but there's this technology. There's no way technology is going to be able to do these widgets like me. Well, okay. I think we're there with the sales tech stack and what's happening right now. Like there's so many SDRs and BDRs right now who are literally going through the motions. I fundamentally don't understand why organizations do this. They take marketing, and marketing creates the messaging because they don't let the sales, they don't trust the sales reps with messaging. So they create the messaging, they then give it to sales, pretending like it's different than marketing. And then they stuff it into these cadences, and all these reps do is press play, right? They literally just press play. They make their 50 dials in a day. They send their cadences. And I'll be straight with you. I mean, I'm watching technology right now write better emails than a rep ever could. I mean, take something like a Grammarly and those type of things and tie them together with some AI. And I can actually there's AI bots right now that can send personalized emails and write them better than any rep I've ever seen. And so I think with that, a lot of sales professionals right now who are going through the motions, I don't want to say they're going to get wiped out. They're just going to move over under marketing and operations and be salaried level positions. But we're going back to full cycle sales. So forget about this predictable revenue model here for a minute. Yeah. I actually think the predictable revenue model is a horrible model at this point. It's great for us as businesses to scale. You bring in cheap talent, young, right out of school, beat the crap out of them. They make a bunch of cold calls, then they evolve, right? But that is not customer centric in any way, shape, or form. What customer wants to be handed off 4 times before they actually talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about? So you have this, and plus, I think the average life cycle of a sales rep is like 18 months now or 16 months right now. So all this like model of like, hey, let's bring in cheap talent and train them, you're not getting the benefit in the future because they're bouncing and going someplace else. So we're going to move back to a full cycle sales supported by real account-based marketing and real artificial intelligence. So if you think of almost like Iron Man or Iron Woman, you got Tony Stark as the human, right? And Tony's got everything. He's good looking. He's smart. And he's wicked rich, right? But without the suit, Tony is going to get smoked by all these aliens, right? So he has to create the suit. Well, the suit works, but without Jarvis, it doesn't really work, right? So now you have the rep, the tech, and the AI all together, and now you're Iron Man. And so that's where I genuinely believe things are evolving to. I don't think sales is going to be replaced because until computers start buying from computers, like once computers buy from computers, then we're screwed. But until that happens, when there's that human interaction, there's still a great need for sales professionals, but the ones who are good and great, not the average ones. Those are ones going to get replaced.
Gotcha. And would you say there's just so many, we're talking before, but there's just so many sales basics that used to be kind of must-haves, from a behavior perspective, I'll say, 20 years ago. And now those things seem to be more kind of luxuries as opposed to the must-haves, and kind of what's happened to the skill set of the sales professional.
It's tough. I think that they get trained on the technology before they get trained on skills. You know what I mean? So it's so they lean on the technology because they don't have any skills, and then they miss the human factor of it, and then it'll probably frustrate them because the results aren't there, and then they'll probably get out of sales pretty quick. I mean, there was a stat I read a while back. I don't know if it's still valid, but effectively 3 out of 4 people that get into sales every single year get out. Right? Because it's that tough of a profession. Well, it is, especially if you're not getting educated on it, especially if you're not getting the skills to help succeed and making it interesting, and you're just being turned into a robot asking to make 50 dials or whatever it is a day. So, I think the good news is that there's about 100 universities right now that are actually you can get your degree in sales. And so I think it's starting to be educated at that level. But still, we're playing catch up. And I think too many people are trying to skip a few too many steps. I'll give you a quick example here, like cold calling. Okay. A lot of people wonder, is cold calling still like a valuable component of the sales process, right? As far as, getting leads and getting meetings. And, we can argue, connect rates and all this other stuff. And it's really not valid. When was the last time anybody got a call back? Fine. Okay. And I'll have that argument with you. But I fundamentally believe that you have to get your ass kicked on the phones for a little while to start your career, because it's going to show what kind of grit you have. It's going to help you develop skills that you would never develop otherwise. And it's like Neil deGrasse. So it was funny. I kind of crap on higher education these days because I think it's just a scam to, go and get $200,000 of debt and get a $40,000 a year job. And I kind of joke about like calculus, like who the hell needs calculus, right? But Neil deGrasse brought something up that I thought was interesting. He said, look, everybody craps on calculus because nobody uses it except for PhD nerds and stuff like that. But it's not calculus. It's the process of figuring out calculus that rewires your brain to help you learn things better in the future. And when he said that, I was like, ooh, damn it, that makes sense. Yeah. It's the same thing for cold calling for me. Like, do I think cold calling is effective? No. Do I think it's an important part of the process? Yeah. But do I think it's a critical part of a sales rep's evolution into what a sales professional should be? Absolutely. Right. So I think those are the things that are lacking.